Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur, your podcast host, and your podcast coach. It's great to be with you. If you are new here, do me a favor, pick up that smartphone of yours and go ahead and point over the QR code like so, touch the ellipse. You'll get my link tree as easy as that. If you're not watching me, but instead you are, just listening, well, then all you need to do is go to believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, which I know you definitely will be very happy that you checked out. All right. I do want to thank you, whether you're here tonight at 9:25 in the evening, 9:25 in the morning, or perhaps just any other time of day or night. I'm so glad that you're here. And so what I want to say to you guys is that I got a great show for you tonight. And so that show starts, as you know, on Saturday and it rolls all through the week and finishes up on Friday. Let's get right into it and I'll stop yapping. All right. What parts of the brain are responsible for motivation? So we're talking about that as well as how this fits into our daily life. So the first thing I want to talk about is motivation and mental health. So if we think about the impact of motivation in our life, it can really make a dramatic change on our mental health. It really can. And so if we understand that, then I feel that we are going to be a lot better off than we were. Low motivation can be a symptom of various mental health disorders that exist, such as depression. But, motivation itself is a key, but we don't become motivated just because we want to. We have to feel being motivated. When we feel it, it's like it happens. And you might say, John, that's nuts. No, I'm here to tell you that that is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. When you feel something, it becomes a reality. That's right. When we feel something, it becomes a reality. And if it becomes a true reality, then it makes a difference in our life. It makes a true difference in our life. And if it makes a difference in our life, then I feel that we will have a pretty astounding transformation that we can celebrate. All right. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, John, I get motivated every day, but for whatever reason, I'm not achieving my goals. Well, the reason you're probably not achieving your goals is because you're not in sync with them. You see, everything in our universe actually exists. And what we need to do is figure out how to connect with that frequency. That's right. How do we connect with that frequency? Does that make sense to everyone? And I feel that if you do that, your life is going to change. But I can't tell you that it's just going to happen overnight because, well, let's face it, nothing really happens overnight, does it? No. So thinking about you and thinking about motivation, thinking about what propels you forward, I will say that it's pretty amazing, okay? It's pretty amazing because when it's amazing, your life will change. That's right. Your life will change. And if your life changes, then you have the ability to create greatness. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You have the ability to create greatness. And greatness, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, it starts from within. It doesn't start anywhere else. You have to start building greatness and motivation from within yourself. You can't look to others for that. You first have to look to yourself. All right. And if you do that, you'll start to realize that a lot of things are possible in life. All right. Let's talk about something else that I think you guys are going to find really, really interesting in terms of, the whole concept of, understanding our motivation this week. And I think the second thing I want to talk about is neurotransmitters and motivation. You might wonder, how does a neurotransmitter like dopamine and serotonin play a pivotal role? Well, what happens is they get activated, okay? And you might be saying to me, John, well, how do they get activated? Well, they get activated because of how we feel. Let me say that again. Our neurotransmitters get activated because of how we feel. And if we understand that, then we can make major changes in our life. Okay, so the neurotransmitter dopamine has a crucial role in motivation control. In learning, it's about the world, what's good, what's bad. And you might be asking me, John, well, what causes a neurotransmitter to have lack of motivation? So researchers have been studying this for years, actually decades. And the symptoms came from hyperactive dopamine system. So if you have too much dopamine, that's going to be bad. Now, if you don't have enough, that's also going to be bad. So dopamine and serotonin. Serotonin and dopamine both play a role in happiness, okay? But serotonin is more directly related to mood stabilization. So let's talk about this. So serotonin regulates mood. It tells the brain, this feels good, I've had enough, okay? It can hinder impulsive behavior, and deficiencies may cause increased aggression and suicidal behaviors, unfortunately. Dopamine regulates the mood as well. It tells the brain, this feels good, I want more, establish reward pathways, okay? And deficiency may cause a lack of motivation and, of course, unfortunately, some muscle tremors. Now, when we think about dopamine and we think about learning and we think about motivation, I feel that a lot of people are going to wonder, like, how and why. So brain dopamine is linked to both motor and motivational functions, okay? Stimulus reward associations are in turn crucial for subsequent motivation in previous reward situations, like Pavlov the dog. We're all familiar with that. We know how the dog works. So basically, the dog was there and it was eating this Salisbury steak, and the dog salivating. Well, now they take away the steak, they bring the steak back, and they ring a bell. They keep doing that for a while. Now, this time they don't bring the steak anymore. They just ring the bell, and the dog still salivates. So the role of dopamine is in pushing forward for the reward associations, but they might be much less localized. Dopamine seems to be important in roles of consolidation of memory and also various structures. Now, an appreciation of the role of dopamine in motivation must be on the basis of understanding of not only the role of dopamine in immediate behavioral arousal, but also in the learning memory modality. So what does this really mean? So dopamine is important for reward, and it's been proposed in a number of forms, okay? Rewarding stimuli such as food, water, lateral hypothalamic brain stimulation, and some drugs of abuse become ineffective as rewards. Dopamine releases in the nucleus accumbens, which we talked about before, and it's been linked to the efficacy of unconditioned rewards. But dopamine release in broader ranges of structures is regarded in basically pushing in of memory that attaches motivational importance to otherwise neutral environment stimuli. So that's pretty cool. So that tells us that our brain is almost like, well, it is a recorder, and it's going on and on and on and on. It's figuring out, well, this is a situation that's happening now. What else is going on in my life, and how can I link these two together? That's what your brain is constantly doing. It's trying to figure out how to create patterns. Our brain doesn't think in words. It thinks in pictures, okay? I think that's probably one of the most important things that I can share with you today. And the next thing I want to talk to you about is addiction and motivation. So addiction, whether we're talking about drugs or things of that nature, but you also can have positive addiction. Like I got positively addicted to working out or to being addicted to being healthy. That's positive. And so if we can learn how addiction setting can work and how that can trigger motivation, it can also get rid of destructive behaviors. So I think it's important that we realize that addiction is a choice. We might say, John, I don't have a choice. It just happens to me. Ask yourself that question. Is addiction a choice? And so what happens is our body gets so conditioned, okay, that we can't do anything else. And so, for example, like drug addiction, is it a disease or is it just based on a choice? Well, it's a disorder of choice is what happens. And then it becomes not only a chemical, let's say, dependency, but a physical dependency as well. And our body's like, oh my gosh, I cannot live without this drug. I cannot live without this. It's kind of like when I was doing my exercise in the morning. I cannot get up without doing my 3 minutes of planks. I cannot get up without doing my meditation. So, what we can understand from this is that motivation causes these neurotransmitters to be activated in our body. And when that happens, we have potential to do a lot of things. Does that make sense, everyone? And you might be saying, hey, John, what is a neurotransmitter? Because I know you're probably saying that to me. What is it? So basically in English, they're your body's chemical messengers. That's what they are. They carry messages from one nerve cell across a space to the nerve's next muscle or gland cell. So what happens is, we have the, let's say, the control inside the nerves, right? But then when there's a space, there's a chemical. So there's the electrical reaction inside, but then the chemical, right, basically causes the connection between the two ends, from the receptors from the dendrites receptors to the other end. And the information is received to your body and vice versa. So the body functions with nerves and neurotransmitters. And so your nervous system controls functions as heartbeat, blood pressure, breathing, muscle movements, thought, memory, learning, feeling, sleep, healing, aging, stress response, hormone regulation, digestion, senses, and more. Okay. Nerves and neurotransmitters help control those. But neurotransmitters work by three parts. One is called a cell body, one's called an axon, and one's called an axon terminal. So cell body is the vital part of the neurotransmitter, and it maintains the function of the nerve cell. An axon is the part that carries the electrical signal along the nerve cell to the axon terminal. So you've got the cell body, which is like the powerhouse, right? And that is vital for running the cell and maintaining the function of the nerve cell. The axon carries the electrical signals along the nerve cell to the axon terminal. The axon terminal, where the electrical message is changed to a chemical signal. It uses neurotransmitters to communicate with the next group of nerve cells, muscle cells, or organs. I think it's pretty cool. So when there's a gap in our body, it's filled by the neurotransmitter with the chemicals, the chemical messaging. And I think that's really cool, because I used to think that our whole body was always connected, never realizing that there's spaces in our body that we need to have chemicals. So our body was engineered in a very strategic and very unique way. I think motivation causes some people to get disappointed or get depressed because they feel like they've hit a wall. You ever felt like you hit a wall? I mean, I have. And so you hit that wall, and it's like, I can't go anymore. I'll give you a per example. I was studying for a MERP badge. I forget which one it was when I was, preparing to become an Eagle Scout. That was a few years before, and I think the badge was citizenship. And I figured, citizenship is going to be so simple. It's going to be so easy. Well, I got this one counselor who was very nice, but he wasn't going to just let me fly through it. So I knew citizenship, but he wanted me to know a lot more than what I already knew. He wanted me to assimilate some more knowledge. And I had to go and read the book. I figured, I'm a U.S. citizen, so I should pass. No. He wanted me to know all these other things about our country and how we got our laws and how we got our freedom. I didn't really know all that. I knew some of it, but I didn't know all the details. And so I remember working on something, and for a while, I didn't go back to him. And then I hit a wall. So I called him and I said, I'm stuck on this part. He helped give me enough information so I could then help myself. And I think it's the same in our bodies. We get information, and then sometimes we shut down because we don't know what's next. You've ever gotten writer's block? Well, when you get writer's block, you can get over it very quickly. I like to listen to Tony Stark productive music or other productive music. And I feel that when we have a way to put our mind at ease or to relax our mind, we become very creative, okay? And we become very productive. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, if you didn't know this by now, serial entrepreneur, podcast host, and of course, your podcast coach. I do want to share with you guys what I do before I say goodnight to you tonight, and that is I'm a podcast coach and a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing, being more scalable, and of course, more profitable. I typically work with companies that bring in 10 million or more and that have a story that needs to be told, or perhaps they want me to find that story. And by me giving that story based on truth of their company, I'm able to get people more curious about them to ask questions and learn and potentially want to do business with them. I hope you guys have an amazing evening. Please go to believemeachieve.com, click on that link, help keep our content free, and click it and make the choice to buy my team and I a cup of coffee, a bowl of fruit, or a scrumptious bowl of desserts. Either way, we'll be grateful for those pennies and dollars. We'll invest into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, even new facilities to give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content to empower you to have an experience outside of this world and to start living that life that you've always wanted to. Have yourself an amazing evening. I'll catch you tomorrow, everyone. Be well.